Welcome to HR After Dark, where we solve the people problems that are keeping you up at night. With your host, Kayla Williams. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to HR After Dark. Today, we are talking about your zone of genius. Now, this is going to be a pretty short episode, really to get the gears turning, the thoughts going on not just identifying your zone of genius and asking that question of, are you operating in your zone of genius? But if you're a leader or an employer, the question is your staff, are your employees operating in their zone of genius? Now, what is your zone of genius? You're like, well, I mean, the name itself can be a little bit self-explanatory, but just to clear up any confusion, your zone of genius is really where you thrive, to put it simply. It's where your talents, your passions, your strengths all come together into one zone, and you're really operating and doing work that not only utilizes your natural abilities, but it also brings you joy and fulfillment in life. So you can really identify your zone of genius a couple different ways. And personally, I like to sit down and I started identifying my zone of genius years ago whenever a previous employer set me down and said, you're very smart. You're very passionate. We just need to hone in on your skills because I'm not quite sure what to do with you. And it was an interesting sit down, but they took a piece of paper and we kind of talked about, first off, a list of skills that I have that I want to work with professionally, because we all have skills. We all have like, oh yeah, sure, I can do that. But is that what you want to do for a living? That's what you have to ask yourself whenever you're talking about your skill set. So we wrote down a list of skills and then we looked at our passions, well, my passion, and what I like to do professionally, personally, what am I passionate about? And then we kind of looked on what I have worked on in the past and what successes I have had for what I was working on, right? So where was I striving in past projects and what did that look like? What did that feel like? And then, of course, taking a personality assessment really helped. I've done multiple assessments, anywhere from the DISC assessments, which of course we offer here at JER, even some of the Enneagram. I might be saying it wrong. If I am, shoot me an email. But the Enneagram assessments as well, those are pretty awesome. It can really help you identify your zone of genius. And of course, getting feedback. They were there to, of course, go ahead and give me that feedback right then and there of what they saw as my leader, where they saw me thriving, where they saw me the happiest. And it was things that I did not even notice myself of, hey, whenever you get assigned a project like this, you hop on it pretty quick and turn it in pretty quick. You seem excited about it. It seems to be something that you really enjoy. And some of those I knew and some of those I really didn't notice. So getting that feedback can really help. So that's a super easy way to kind of narrow in your zone of genius. Okay. Now, once you narrow in that zone of genius, and again, this is for you. This is for your employees. And once you narrow in that zone of genius, then start looking at how you can cultivate or develop it. So the first thing always is to set goals. Would that be pursuing training or education? You want something that is specific, measurable, right? We want to use SMART goals. So set your goals, seek opportunities. If you are doing this for yourself, then of course you're looking for opportunities to kind of incorporate your zone of genius into your work. If you're doing this for your employees, then help them to seek those opportunities. Tell them, as you're sitting there with them and going over this, you can say, hey, if this type of project is operating in your zone of genius, then let's give you more of this. Maybe even you need to look at their job description and see where they would fit best. Personally speaking, I have even had my job completely changed in the past, and I was wary of it as an employee at first, but after the changes were made, I was extremely happy my employer made the changes, put me in a different position. And then whenever I was operating in my zone of genius, you could tell I was thriving as I am now, So seeking opportunities, practicing mindfulness. So being really fully present in the moment so that you can better identify whether you are operating in your zone of genius or not. And I love the question I found myself asking a lot. Am I operating in my zone of genius here? Just because I can do this, is this within my zone of genius? Or whenever I have employees that I'm working with, I'll ask myself, is this their zone of genius? How are they responding to these projects? And is there an opportunity? This goes back to seeking opportunities. Is there an opportunity to somehow incorporate their zone of genius into what they are doing here? So be mindful about whether or not, and be honest with yourself, guys. You can't lie to yourself. And you really have to encourage your employees to be honest and open and really think about it for themselves so that they can also provide you with that feedback and you with them with that feedback. Collaborating with others, so working with others who share certain passions, values, can help to enhance your zone of genius. Embracing failure. So as you develop your zone of genius, you're going to experience setbacks and failures. That's in anything and everything we do in life, right? We can't really grow or learn without failure. So embracing these experiences, reflect on what can be done differently, and really using them to adjust your goals and actions. And then, of course, prioritizing self-care. So working within, figuring out, getting there to your zone of genius can, oh my gosh, it can be so energizing. And it's even energizing as an employer whenever you're helping this employee to identify and work within their zone of genius. It can be energizing and it's incredibly fulfilling. But it can also be demanding, even stressful, because you're doing a lot of that mindfulness work. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, mentally and even emotionally speaking. And so prioritizing self-care, making sure that people are taking appropriate breaks, that you're taking appropriate breaks. That includes your lunch breaks, your 15s, however, but really being aware. That kind of goes back to our awareness, right? Our mindfulness, being aware of, okay, I put a lot of work into this at this time and I need to step back and take a quick break. But once you get to your zone of genius, or once you help your employee to get to their zone of genius, it is a truly transformative process, personally and professionally, because let me tell you, it really leaks over into everything that I do personally and professionally whenever I am mindful about operating within my zone of genius. I'm really taking intentional steps to develop them. And because of that, not only am I achieving a deeper sense of fulfillment and satisfaction with my work, but my work is even better. As an employer, as an employee, my work is even better whenever I am operating within my zone of genius. Now, of course, I could give you all the pros and cons of trying to do this, and the cons really only revolve around the time and energy that are spent doing this, especially depending on your team size, I think. It's hard to sit down with each individual team member and to identify their zone of genius and to learn it and help them cultivate it, right? But the pros here, you see your retention rate going up because you have happier, healthier employees that are doing what they love, that are operating, doing their passions. And so you see happier and healthier employees. So that goes into your employee morale as well. And even how your team collaborates with each other. It goes into your company culture. And that gives your employees and yourself this company culture of development, of support and fulfillment, right? And those are all things that as an employer we want for ourselves, and as an employee we want from our employers. There are quite a few studies out there. If you do some research into, the zones of genius, I think I've read multiple books that have put it a different way. There's like zones of work and different ways to do this. Again, my suggestion is to do your research, of course, but keep it simple, right? Because this is something that can be taxing for you and the employee or for yourself even. Keep it simple. Just get out that piece of paper and start taking a catalog. Do a skills inventory, identify your passions, reflect on those past successes, and then get the personality assessments if you want. And then, of course, get that feedback. And so all you need is a pen and a piece of paper to get this process started. And of course, as always, if you have any questions about this, our HR consultants are very good about identifying zones of genius with employees. We go in and we've even identified before and said, hey, so-and-so might be in this position, but whenever they do work over here in this, they're extremely happy. And then we've seen a transition, and we've seen and even received feedback about how wonderful it is to not only have kept an employee on that might even be heading out the door, but also to see them grow in what they love. So that's it for today. Like I said, this was a short and sweet episode, but I just wanted to get out there with that information. We've had a lot of people talking about Zone of Genius lately. And if you have any questions, reach out. Also, if you would like to be a guest on HR After Dark, you can reach me, Kayla Williams, at Kayla@JERHRgroup.com. Have a wonderful day, guys.